Hello, Lucy.
Why, hello, Abe.
Did you bring the captain hats that I asked for?
The captain hats?
Yeah, the captain hats to
No.
fly the plane.
No, I didn't buy the captain hats. That's on the to-do list.
Well then, Lucy, how are we supposed to do our pilot episode? Oh my God, you can't read it because the camera's bad, but here we are.
Oh, God.
Welcome everyone to the first Strictly Okay episode, and of course we're hitting it off with a banger.
The
with
banger
one of the
of all
greatest,
bangers.
one of the greatest cinematic masterpieces of our day and age.
I don't know if our day and age, maybe just our generation.
Of our day and age.
Okay.
Shrek. Welcome to whatever this is. So, Lucy, you have a whiteboard in front of you.
I do. I see
purchased
it.
them today.
I see that at Target.
Real quick, after watching this movie, I just watched this movie.
Nice.
You watched it, what was it, today?
I literally watched it today.
Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, without me looking, without you looking at mine, what would you scale this on a scale of 1 to 10?
Like the scale being overall quality of movie?
Yeah.
Or what are we scaling?
And it's up to your personal scale. Where does this go on a scale of 1 to 10 for you? I think this is a solid. Okay. I've decided. On 3, we have to reveal it to each other.
Okay. All right. Boom.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
8.5.
I got a 7.
Oh, 7.
I've decided 7.
7.
7 is it's a good movie. I like it. It's a very enjoyable movie. It's not that 8 range for me.
The reason
8 is that 80%. You know what I mean?
The reason I put it in the 8 range for me is because, and this is a selfish reason, but it's nostalgic as fuck.
That's true.
The movie in and of itself, I can quote it without even knowing. And for me, if you can have a movie that's influenced your life to the point of something happens in your day-to-day and a scene pops up and you quote it, that movie has influenced your life.
Yeah,
so that
puts
it in the 8 range.
I was going to say,
in my world.
As I was rewatching this movie, I basically could say it verbatim.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So, okay, so next prompt on your whiteboard, Lucy. If you could describe this movie in one word,
okay,
what word would you use to describe it?
One word. That's hard.
I got perfect. I don't know if you'll be able to see this in the camera, but we'll eventually upgrade to better cameras and more cameras so we don't just have a stationary shot for 3 hours talking about some dumb movie.
But they're so great, though. It's so worth talking about.
Okay, so...
so one word to describe the whole movie.
Yep.
That's, like, super
I'll make you think.
I've got one word, but I have another word.
Mine's technically 2 words.
Okay. I'm gonna do...
Well, okay, wait. Max 3 words.
Oh, okay.
I'm doing it for selfish reasons because I like my prompt.
That's fair. Let's see. No, I'm gonna stick with my first one. Okay,
on 3. 1, 2,
2, 3.
3.
I did self-aware.
Anti-Disney fun.
Yeah. I mean, you could say that for any good DreamWorks movie.
I know this one. We'll get into it,
well,
but this one.
But this one was kind of like their landmark movie.
This was their flagship.
Yeah, exactly.
Animation movie. This is the first animation movie that
Yes.
actually won. It's either it's an Academy Award-winning movie. I can't remember if it was an Oscar or not, but it did win. It was the first animated movie to win an award.
And it is an incredible movie. I mean, I like that sentiment, but I feel like there's a lot of DreamWorks movies that has that same thought.
We'll get more into it because this one I see as very anti-Disney. Like it's
like a direct.
Its plot is like dependent on it, and we'll get more into it. But anyway, so right now, plot. How would you describe the plot?
How would you describe the plot of Shrek?
I wrote down in my
my
notes.
Wow.
A hero's journey mixed with a romantic comedy, and it was a kind of a I want to say a passion project for people who weren't a fan of the Disney musicals at the time. So this movie came out in 2001.
Okay.
And before that was the Disney Renaissance era. That's when you get your Ariels, your Beauty and the Beast, your musicals, where the characters open the movie with a big literal song and dance telling the audience exactly how they feel
and what's going on.
And I want to go out into the world, all this stuff.
Hopes and dreams.
I want to say they wanted to make a hero's journey, except turn everything on their head when it came to your typical fantastical fairy tale setting.
Yeah, I mean, they took the same basic formula, they just mixed the ingredients up in a way that Disney would not do.
Yes, Disney would not do this.
Disney would not. And there's so many things about this movie. I mean, I know we're going to get into it later, but there is so many things about this movie. It's like, dude, Disney would never fucking do that.
Well, yeah. No, I mean, this has alcohol consumption. It says jackass multiple times. It says the words damn all the time.
Well,
it has the fart jokes going on.
So it actually only says ass one time.
It does say jackass one time, yeah.
And
and it's because it's a joke.
and it's PG-13, so they're
allowed the one.
And so it was a double joke because he's a donkey.
Well, they could use it. Yeah, it was a clever usage of the one swear word.
Very clever, but that is where they used it.
So I'd say that's the plot of the movie is Shrek goes on a quest to get his home back,
right,
and makes friends and meets the love of his life, his best friend and the love of his life along the way.
I mean, that's your typical.
It's a typical hero's journey. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I don't know. I like how you put the romantic comedy because they put some of that
yes.
Well, they put some of the aspects in there, but if you look at it as a whole, it really is just your classic. This is the hero's journey, because if you look at any typical princess story, that is a hero's journey. Yeah. It's just
with more fantastical princess elements.
With more crazy elements that normally wouldn't be there. And then the hero's journey is usually on the knight or whoever it is that's doing the saving.
For themes, what do you think the themes are strong in this movie? And then after that we can really get into the
the strong themes in the movie, in my opinion, are probably going to be individualism, being true to yourself.
Okay.
Materialism.
Okay.
And then elitism is another one.
No, yeah.
That really gets touched on
being
in it.
Outside the social norm.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. And being okay with that.
Yep.
And being you don't have to be part of the social norm, and you should actually kind of as long as you're opening up to other people and you're
Well, I would say yes, opening up to other people, but being true to yourself.
Yeah.
And being honest with yourself and not going with okay, this is what the social norm or this is what society wants me to do or look like Fiona. Mm-hmm. She's I'm supposed to be, she says it at the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. She's I'm supposed to be beautiful. And Shrek's you are.
Yeah, exactly.
So
and it's a perfect little bow on the end of the message of the movie and also their respective arcs.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, I think those would be the big ones because they're hitting on a lot of that.
I'd say the main themes I noticed was friendship, romance, and then kind of just the other things that you were saying. Yeah. Just something that is more below, more than just appearances.
Yeah, absolutely. Below the surface,
So, let's start talking about the movie. So, most important part of the movie is first 10 minutes. It's opening scene.
You think so?
Yes, an important part of any movie ever is the first 10 minutes.
Because it
sets everything up. It sets up the tone. It sets up the story. It sets up everything. And if it does a good job, the audience will know what they're buckling in for the next 2 hours. Okay. This movie's only 90 minutes. It's a perfect hour and 30 minutes, which I think is just the perfect runtime for a movie.
It's a great.
It's not too long. It holds your attention. You can jam pack it with a bunch of stuff. But the first 10 minutes in this scene or in this movie are phenomenal.
Because what, he's showering and all
Well,
that,
okay, so
or?
it opens up. The first scene we get is it starts with the music of the movie of, you know, how Fiona sings that song, the da-na-na.
Yeah.
No. It starts off with that. So
with
boom.
That song, yeah.
First thing, we're kind of starting off with the motif of kind of like a fantasy
This is going
thing.
to be continued. Yeah.
And so it starts with Shrek reading a book. And, you know, and he goes, and it gives you the whole setup. Once upon a time. And it sets up like, once upon a time, very Disney-like of, there's a princess caught in a tower, guarded by a dragon, and she has to marry true love's first kiss. And then it just immediately, like a Monty Python sketch, has his hand rip out the page and he wipes his ass with it.
Literally.
And then you get a somebody once.
Yeah, that's true.
That is the first minutes of the movie, and
that's
you know
true.
exactly what you are signing up for. Shrek is taking your classic fantasy Disney story and he's wiping his ass with it.
I don't want to necessarily put the Disney stamp on it, and I understand why. I understand why you're doing that, because they own all of them now. But Disney does not own princesses. Like, they own all the main stories.
I would say pop culture wise, and during this time,
yeah,
they had the trademark on princesses.
And you're right. They do have the trademark on princesses, but there's a lot of like companies now that are coming out with like the new. This is like you know.
Well, I'm just saying for the time that this was made, this was a direct. I'll get more into this.
Well, it's a direct shot because it sounds and it is a direct shot because when they do the Lord Farquaad scene, the other two princesses that are suggested are Snow White and Cinderella.
We'll get more into that. So opening scene starts and it starts with Smash Mouth, which is
great.
It's iconic at this point.
Okay,
it's iconic. So starts with that and it shows you the everyday life of Shrek.
Yep.
So he's just enjoying his solitude. He's all happy, but it also establishes the relationship he has with the outside world. So it immediately starts with a mob being like, hey, there's an ogre that lives out here. Without any dialogue, they're like, we're going to go attack him.
Right.
And then, it starts with a great scene of like him putting out the torch and being like, you should get out of here. And it sets everything up. And then immediately transfers to introduction to Donkey. And Donkey, there are multiple little gags that are
whole thing. That whole scene.
That whole scene is a huge gag.
Yeah.
Of just like, okay, we're putting away all these stupid fairy tale creatures.
Yeah.
And then Pinocchio gets sent off to jail.
Yep.
The three little bears, are all in cages, and he's like, this cage is too small.
Can I say something that's screwed up about that
I
movie?
know what you're gonna say, and go ahead.
Oh man! So when you look at that scene, the three bears is supposed to be Mama Bear, Papa Bear, and Baby Bear, right?
Yep.
Well, when you watch that scene, it's just Papa Bear and Baby Bear.
Yeah, you see them three times.
There's no Mama Bear, and then when you fast forward and see Lord Farquaad sitting in his bed when he's waiting for Fiona to be rescued. There he has a bear rug that has a bow on it. He murdered
fucked up dude
Mama Bear, bro. And this is what I mean by self-aware.
Yes.
There's
little bits and parts everywhere.
This is animated.
Yeah.
Every piece that's in here, someone drew and thought out and was like, we're gonna put this in the movie.
Computer animated, and they had complete total control. So anyway, with that scene,
oh man, that's so screwed up.
Yeah, they have the three little bears. They do a little bit about that later on in the movie. They have Geppetto selling Pinocchio, and then the reason. It's so apparent because the old lady's trying to sell Donkey, right?
Right.
And then she just goes, he can talk, and
he loves to talk,
and then he doesn't, and then she kicks Tinkerbell up in the air, lands on him, and then he starts flying, and then they go, he can fly, and it's just like that is a straight Peter Pan, and then he goes, he can talk, and it starts off with that, and you then have Donkey smash cut into Shrek,
right?
Which we'll get into that. So one motif that they kind of have going on in the movie is the really, really. Every single time that they say that, a relationship is formed or solidified. So the first time that they talk...
It's like a confirmation.
Yeah, it's said 3 times in the movie. And it's a very... I just, really? Really, really? Yeah, like I say that every day.
Yeah.
And so first time that is said is... Donkey meets Shrek, and they have a conversation. Eddie Murphy is hilarious.
Always.
Mike Myers...
Oh yeah, Shrek.
Phenomenal as Shrek. All of their line deliveries through this movie are fantastic.
Such a great duo.
Apparently, was it this? I might as well just say it now, but actually, I'll save it for the end. I'll save it for the trivia section at the end.
Oh God.
Trivia. But this is the first interaction they have, and this is the first time Shrek really meets someone who's not terrified of him.
Right.
And there's a moment where he's just like, look up at me. What do you see? And Donkey's just like,
so it's
really tall. And he's just like, I'm an ogre. Like, you're supposed to grab your pitchforks and, try and run me out of town or whatever. Like, doesn't that bother you? And he's just like, no. Really? Really? And so right there is just like, Shrek has made probably the first friend he's ever had.
Yeah, probably.
And Donkey is... pivotal to this movie.
And begrudgingly so.
Yes, begrudgingly so.
He does not choose to have Donkey as a... It's not like he's like, oh, this could be like a cool companion. Yep. Donkey is the definition of that annoying friend that's so irritating, but as soon as they're gone, they're like, where did they go?
Yeah.
Well,
he immediately he sees Shrek and he's just like, I want to stick with you. You make the guards run away. I'm sticking around with you.
And if you think about it, they're both sticking with each other at first because of, Donkey is sticking with Shrek because of survival.
Yes.
Because of this. So because when he first runs across Shrek, his ears fall back. He's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
The guards are hunting him, and then he hides behind Shrek. So it's like, no, I'm going to stick with you. He even says that. He's like, no, there are guards over there. I'm going to stick with you. It's like, no, go celebrate with your own friends. And then he kind of has a realization, I don't have any friends.
This is also something that the movie does, because he's like, he starts singing.
Yep.
Anytime that any musical is about to break out, this movie makes a point to be like, stop singing,
which is hilarious.
Which is it's such a clear
which is hilarious.
I'm sick of these singing Disney movies.
Well, but it's funny because you still could call this movie somewhat of a musical movie.
I would
not in the sense of like it is a musical,
okay.
but the score and the music in this movie is
works
very
important. Well with it. Yes, I agree.
So I'm just saying musical as an adjuctive. Not musical as a
as what like, genre it is.
Correct.
Cool.
That is what I mean by that.
Yes, I agree. Because we'll get into music, but the music in this
and
is
even the
great.
little bits that Donkey sings that Shrek tells him to knock it off. Mm-hmm. Those are bits that follow through in the like. I'm so alone.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no one here beside me.
Because
that follows through.
Exactly. Well, it speaks to how both characters are kind of feeling.
Right, yeah.
Exactly. So, Donkey sticks with Shrek for survival. Boom, done. And then we get great bits of the infestation of magical creatures.
Which is also freaking hilarious.
There's so much. And so, what is it? I think it's...
We can't take the debt.
14 minutes in the movie. 14 minutes in the the we get the iconic, what's... are you doing in my swamp? And that starts the plot off where it's like, okay, now we got to travel to Lord Farquhar's place. And the only reason Shrek takes Donkey is because everyone else is terrified of Shrek except Donkey. And he's like, okay, on the road again. You stop singing. Can I whistle it? No. Can I hum it? Fine.
And then he hums it and it's like, stop it. So
they get a little bit of montage to them going to the castle.
And that scene also, I don't want to skip over this, that scene also very specifically puts Shrek in a hero position when that is not what he wants to do.
He just wants everyone to leave him alone.
He's literally like, I don't understand why the universe is dropping all this shit on my lap.
Yeah.
First, it drops this annoying donkey that wants to spend the night. I allow that to happen, and then I wake up and I am just bombarded with all of these annoying magical creatures.
I got a dead broad on the table.
Yeah, who are singing my praise because I want to kick them off of my land.
Yeah. It's a great
so
comedic bit.
Good. It's so funny. Like, yeah,
they're all just cheering him on like a hero, and he's like, "Get the fuck off me!"
Oh yeah, he's got the birds, which you know, so and that's another.
And he's just taking it off because he hates it.
It's so funny, dude. It's so good, and they're just. He huffed, he puffed, and he signed the eviction notice.
Exactly, that's fantastic.
Oh my
so
God.
They start walking on their adventure, and it gives us a good reprieve. Is your dog chewing on my Pokemon right now?
I don't know.
I literally cannot believe you. Are
Rosie.
you? Hold up, just everyone pause, because her dogs are ruining my life.
She's beautiful though.
Look at that. You see this? Oh man, I don't know if the camera stopped working.
Do you see this real life Pokemon that's right here? Do you see
Pokemon.
it?
And we're gonna continue.
My beautiful real life baby.
Oh my God, we're back.
Oh my God.
Sorry everyone, we're still going to have these technical difficulties figured out hopefully. But anyway,
we're figuring it out.
She was chewing on this, which is my Pokemon.
Yeah, but
anyway.
look at this real life Pokemon who's the cutest fucking thing in the world.
I
look,
refuse
say hello.
to acknowledge her. But anyway, so Shrek and Donkey go on their quest, right? And it's the perfect time to introduce the villain.
Dun dun dun.
This is, I think, one of the greatest, I mean, just personally, introductions to a villain. For reference, apparently, during the time Bob Iger owned Disney, and so they kind of made him his face look like Bob Iger.
No,
and the inside joke, well, this is, I don't know if this is a rumor, if this is true,
my gosh.
but the original name was Lord Fuckwad.
Oh my God.
And so they were like, well, we can't have that.
We
Let's
literally
do that.
cannot have that.
Yeah, and so they renamed him Lord Farquaad.
We're going to make him a stupid name, but it's,
and so, anyway, so we get the scene.
I didn't know about the face thing.
We get, again, I don't know if this is true.
I'm going to look that up.
I don't know if it's true. That's what I found on the internet. I did my research, Lucy. I did my research.
I want to look that up and see if I can find something. That's crazy.
But anyway, introduction, dark temple, dark dungeon. You see this like menacing figure walking through the corridors, and then he opens up the door to the dungeon, and he walks down with this menacing laugh.
Oh yeah.
And then immediately he has to drop the table because he's so short.
Yes.
And you have, I think, one of my favorite interactions of the whole movie is him and the gingerbread man. And they make that dialogue hilarious.
And it has
dialogue is so, it's pitch perfect.
Well, and it's so great because you don't have to take it anywhere. They could have made that a dialogue that shows up again later, and it doesn't. It's literally like a funny nursery rhyme playing off of a nursery rhyme.
But they're using it as just regular dialogue.
Yeah. It's great.
I love it. And I can't remember who voices the gingerbread man.
No,
but
I don't know.
He does a great job. And the guy who voices Lord Farquaad, who's actually in real life like really freaking tall.
Oh, really?
So he thought it was hilarious that his character short.
Super short.
Yeah, and they just, I love all of it.
Well, and that's the scene too, that's one of those quotable scenes.
Yes, absolutely.
Not my gumdrop buttons.
Yeah, exactly.
Not my gumdrop buttons.
So, after that, we get a little more exposition on the princess that will soon come to meet and everything, and kind of what the bad guys' motivations are.
Well, and then again, you get those stabs at Disney on all of them. And I think the reason they are allowed to do that is because those particular fairy tales, they are grim fairy tales.
Yep.
So they are public
access.
So we're allowed to talk about Snow White.
Before they screened this movie, as they were making it, some of the higher ups at DreamWorks actually brought some of their Disney lawyer friends and had them watch the movie and said, could you sue us over this?
Yeah.
And I guess they had to cut some stuff out on their first stuff, but it was just like
Probably.
they literally had lawyers watch it
I'd be like,
to make sure
that we
are allowed to do this in the satire.
Oh man, wouldn't it be cool if they could release the uncut version?
That'd be cool.
Dude, I would watch it so fast.
That is, yeah, exactly.
Oh man, I would watch it like boom. I'd
release
watch it so fast.
You know how people are hashtagging the Snyder Cut?
Oh my god, hashtag
release the unedited, possibly suable
Shrek edition.
Cut.
All about it. You don't even have to release it in animated form. Just give me the comic, like when
literally.
they draw it out.
That's fine.
I would be ecstatic.
Exactly.
That would be great. That would really make my life.
So anyway, the exposition, the way they do exposition in this movie is, whenever they're feeding you information, it's in such an entertaining way. And so what they decide to do to set up the bad guys' motivations and kind of like who we're going to be meeting in the future is they take your classic Disney fairy tale princesses and they mix it with like a pop culture game show of like Bachelorette #1. And it's just, it's so entertaining and it just screams like, yeah, this is like a reality TV show.
Right.
And then the crowd's going like, pick number 3. Like, whoa. As anytime this movie gives you exposition on paper is boring and it's up to you to make it good. Good job, Shrek writers. You did that.
Well, and I think it's more than just like, and it's exposition, but it's exposition like with a twist. It's not just like, oh, we're gonna go get this princess. It's like, no, like let's make this like,
let's have fun with it.
Like, yeah, and it also goes to show that Lord Farquaad doesn't care
at
who
all.
He gets.
He just wants to get married to be king.
And the only reason that even comes up is because he's stealing all of these magical items. He gets the magical mirror. It tells him, well, technically this is not a kingdom because you're not a king. He's like, oh, really? Why am I not a king? Well, you're not royal. Yep. You're Lord Farquaad. You don't have any actual royalty in your blood, so you have to marry into it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, for him, it's really choose 1, 2, 3.
Self-serving.
It doesn't matter. I just need your crown and your title so that this can actually be a kingdom.
Yes. So.
Well, and I think that's another thing that they poke at Disney because they're always saying like all these kingdoms they lived happily ever after. Everything's just perfect in these kingdoms. Yeah. Well, that's all
everyone looks great.
That's all Lord Farquaad wants is a perfect kingdom.
Yep, he's very like you have to conform to my kingdom. Well, and that's a great antagonist for Shrek because not only is he out of that, he's trying to find the beauty within himself that's you're not going to find in a Lord Farquaad kingdom.
And being an individual and being true to that because you have the entire crowd that you have multiple times in the movie that he has a cue card. So they know what to do. Laugh or gasp or do whatever. Like, so it's literally everything is bought and paid for in his world. Exactly. And
that is a perfect segue to the next scene that we get to that I like to call Shrek Visits Disneyland. So the very first scene is he goes...
Oh, like the small world? Oh my god, do you think that's what that is?
Yes, it absolutely is.
Oh my god, it has to be.
It absolutely is.
Oh my god.
Like, there's no way... Anyway, okay, so I'll start off with this. First thing he says when he sees Disneyland is... I wonder if he's compensating for something. Yep. And then he immediately just ignores the line and has the guy with the big head, which is a great bit where he runs back and forth. And he goes straight into it, and it looks exactly like an amusement park. You have the things, bars that you get in. He goes into, and immediately there's a mixture of it's a small, small world mixed in with how Lord Farquaad runs his kingdom. Yep. You have to do this, you have to do that, you have to conform to my thing. And then it's just, and then there's gift shops with all the stuff. Like it's very clearly
and actually, now that you say that, it says Farquaad the happiest place on earth.
Yes, it does.
That's fucking Disneyland.
Yes, it does. Yes, Lucy. When I said anti-Disney fun, I meant anti-Disney fun.
That's dude. Because they do say that, and it's written there, and it's all in that haha, and it's a big crazy castle.
It's a crux of this story.
Like,
and so
that's very true.
So, next scene, go into Wrestling Mania, basically, which is just super fun,
which
super
is
awesome.
Also great.
It's one of my favorite scenes. It has what is it? I don't give a damn about reputation.
Yep.
Whole thing's awesome. Ends it with a donkey kicking the guy's helmet for a bell.
The ding. Yep.
And then you kind of get the second part of the quest where it's like, hey, you go rescue the princess,
and then you get your swamp.
And then you can get your swamp back. And so now the hero and the villain have made a deal, and there's kind of a new quest going on.
I was always curious, like, I don't know if this is reaching too far, but with Farquaad doing that, and like he's like, you're a swamp. He's like, yeah, you put all these fairy tale creatures
things,
there without my knowledge or consent, and he's like, oh, okay, well, if you do this, then we'll take it off. It's like, is that like the government's version of eminent domain? He literally came over and was like, I'm going to take this because I think it's better for the kingdom, which is what eminent domain is I'm going to take a section of something.
Lucy.
I'm just saying.
Lucy.
It's interesting. What?
Lucy. That's too deep a can of worms to open up currently. I'm just going to talk about how Shrek makes me laugh.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, you do have a point. I'm not saying you don't have a point, but that is a rabbit hole that I am going to avoid.
Okay, I'm just saying that it's an interesting commentary on how the Lord just gets to do whatever he wants, and the poor dude who owns
here, Jesus,
the poor dude that owns the property has to risk his life to keep the property that he already owned. That's all I was saying. But anyways,
in the next scene,
the wrestling scene.
The next scene,
another thing.
Okay.
The wrestling scene. They all died. They did.
Depends.
They did. No, they did. That big thing of ale that rolled over all of them. Do you know how much ale? Do you know how much that would have weighed?
Well, they were wearing armor.
Right. They were in metal armor that was rolled over by at least a ton.
Either one. Well, okay, so not all of them were under there. We're not gonna get into the semantics of this because there was some where it's just like he did the tombstone move. That guy's dead.
That guy's dead. That guy's dead.
He just did a leg hold. That guy's fine.
Okay, so I'm just saying, fine. At least 3/4 of those knights in that scene
got fucking wrapped.
Died.
Yeah, exactly.
Died. Like,
why do you think he spent
donkey,
Shrek,
kicking him? That's a headshot,
yeah,
bro.
Exactly.
Like a donkey kicking you straight in the neck. You're gonna die.
One of the reasons he sent Shrek because he's like, oh, yeah, this guy's clearly the top guy. Like he's just okay. Well, just whatever.
Why would they let them all die when they had arrows on him the whole time? Like Farquaad just let them die.
But no, because he wanted to find a champion, Lucy. He said the one who kills the ogre is the champion. That was the competition, Lucy. It all adds up. Anyway,
Okay.
The next scene.
Okay.
We have Shrek and Donkey walking through the plantation farm, or through all the vegetation, and you get another scene where you kind of get a peek into kind of who Shrek is as a character. He's not just this ugly, mean ogre. This is kind of your first glimpse because Donkey says something that's stereotypical of ogres, of just like, why don't you just threaten them and grind his bones into bread and all this stuff.
Right.
And then Shrek responds with just like, oh yeah, why don't I just like drink their blood and put their heads on stakes and just something more strange. Does that sound great to you? And he's just like, not really. It's just like, for your information, there's more to ogres than a lot of people think. All those things, all those stereotypes that are out there.
Yep.
And this is kind of your first glimpse into just like ogres are like onions. And this, I think, is a perfect analogy between what the movie is trying to accomplish and how it's trying to be a satire against Disney.
Yep.
Because he starts with the analogy of ogres are like onions and they have layers.
Right.
Saying that, Shrek's character is layered. He's three-dimensional. And Donkey's immediate response is, well, he makes all those jokes. All the jokes are fantastic,
Right.
But he goes with, well, a lot of people don't like onions. What about cakes? Everyone likes cakes. Cakes have layers.
Yep.
And he's just like, no, I am not a cake. I'm an onion.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this movie, that's the core of it, is we're going to tell this story about this stinky onion of a character,
Yep.
and we're going to turn everything on its head. Everybody likes cakes right now. I don't want to make a cake.
Yeah, well, and he does. He responds, and he's like, well, I don't care about everybody.
Exactly.
And I feel like that resonates with a lot, or maybe not a lot.
That can resonate with anyone.
I mean, I think that resonates with the crowd of people that they're targeting, specifically people that are, like, kind of over the Disney thing.
Yes,
like,
where
I'm over
everything's
this.
always,
like,
there's a formula to it.
Yeah.
And so this took that formula and was just like, everything's going to be the opposite. The bad guy's going to be the good guy,
Yep.
This happily ever after it's still going to be a happily ever after, but it's going to be different.
Have you heard about that mermaid movie?
We're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into that. So anyway.
We are going to talk about that, though.
Eventually. So after that, the onion analogy scene, I think it's great. Awesome. Then they go on that little montage, On My Way, another great song, get to the thing, make a brimstone joke, awesome. Second, really sing. So, Donkey is, Shrek's kind of got Donkey's... Shrek, I think, trusts Donkey enough because he's opened up to him at this point. And he's also the only character that has shown doesn't judge Shrek immediately.
Well, and he hasn't gone away.
Exactly. He's stuck with him through thick and thin at this point. And so this is the scene where Donkey kind of learns to trust Shrek.
Yeah.
Is they get on the bridge and, Donkey's afraid to do it, all this stuff. And he's just like, hey, we're just going to take this one little step at a time. And he goes, really? And he goes, really?
Yeah.
And then, Donkey's freaking out, doing his own thing, doing the donkey thing where he's overthinking over whatever. And Shrek is just like, we're just going to keep doing this. And eventually he reaches to the other side of the scene and he's just like, oh, it's over. And he's just like, done.
Yeah.
That's the second really thing. And I think it's a solidifying moment of just like, okay, they've both now each done something for each other that has helped the character in their own way.
Oh, it's a callback to original movies, too. Like when he says, that'll do. That's from Babe.
Yep. A lot of references. So anyway, after that, what is it?
Well, and it also shows, too, how Shrek can be unsupportive in an unorthodox way.
Yeah, no. Well,
like
Fiona even calls him unorthodox.
He does, and or she does, and instead of Shrek, you think, okay, I need to encourage this person to get across the bridge. It's like, you can do it.
What?
Shrek,
don't do this?
Yeah, Shrek is like, well, I see what you're doing, and I'm just gonna keep you going, and then since
we'll be there before you know it.
Yeah, and we're good.
Yep,
yeah, exactly. So
another great, really scene I enjoyed, and it just seems like a motif that they bring up. What is it? Then they go. Donkey's supposed to find the princess. Shrek's supposed to find the dragon. Things go awry.
Right.
I don't know if Eddie Murphy did. What is it? Not stand up. What's it called? When you're spitballing comedy.
Oh,
improv.
Like improv.
Yeah, I don't know if he was improving, but he makes
four
consecutive stare jokes at once. And I don't know if that was just him improving or somebody wrote that, but whoever's responsible, good job, because I loved all of them, and it's just rattling off one after the other. But anyway, after all that,
the Stairmaster joke.
I'm the Stairmaster.
Killed me.
I'm
the master of the stairs.
That one is kick it to the curb.
Oh my god!
It's just like,
it's just so.
Eddie Murphy,
funny,
you're kind of funny. Have you considered doing stand up?
Oh my goodness! Well, and then Mom and Dad had that Stairmaster.
Oh yeah.
So it's just like, it's the Stairmaster.
I understand that reference.
Oh my gosh, dude.
So anyway, things go awry.
That time stamps it too.
It does. I mean, we might get into that. But anyway, things go awry. Shrek gets launched into the tower, and
which
Donkey
is
gets
from the fairy tale that he was reading at the beginning of the movie.
I told you, first minute of the movie, it's important.
Well, because
it sets everything up.
Well,
because he even mentions, he's like, how do you know she's going to be in the tallest tower? I read it in a book once.
Yep.
It's directly from us. Anyway, he gets thrown up to the tower. Donkey gets captured by Dragon because he has a silver tongue, apparently.
Sure.
Hey, it's funny. I like the visual thing of her blowing a heart smoke because you immediately understand.
Hilarious.
And then he goes like, I don't know if this is gonna work. I'm like an asthmatic.
It's
okay. Good job.
I don't know if it's gonna work. You blowing smoke around here and everything.
Exactly. So anyway, gets sent to Fiona's room. I love their first introduction where she has these. She's been having expectations for however long she's been locked in that towers of her Prince Handsome, all this stuff, Prince Charming, exactly, and all this stuff that's gonna go well for her, and so she gets all ready, wants everything to be perfect, and he just grabs her, and he just wake up, again, it's just one of those things where it's just like, oh, Sleeping Beauty, oh my God, romantic. It's just, we're not doing that. Let's go. We gotta rescue my ass.
Which and then
he does say that.
And that's when they get the ass. That's when they get the swear word.
Well, actually, they say it twice then because there's 2 times in the movie. Okay. But we'll get farther into it. But
maybe they got away with jackass because as a word, like jackass, it means donkey. Yeah, exactly. So they slipped in the second one. With that.
But anyway, so I love the first interaction that Shrek and Fiona have, because again, it just kind of plays on the movie of just like, this is how a fairy tale is supposed to be. This is how it's supposed to be, and he's just not doing any of it. He does not care. Well, that's what all the other guys did. Well, look what happened to them, and just all this kind of dialogue of just like the expectations versus the reality, and that Shrek truly is. And this movie, for its time, is one of a kind.
Well, and that's also kind of a statement on, like, everyday life, too, is everybody has this big plan that they want it to go this way.
Has to go perfectly.
And Fiona being like, well, this is the way it should go. This is what my parents have told me. This is why I'm here, blah, 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 blah. You have all of that, and it's like 95% of the time, that's not what happens. Exactly. And you just gotta roll with the punches.
Exactly. So, what is it? Do all that. They escape Dragon. Through a bunch of fun bits and gags and everything, where it's just like, oh my God, they can talk. Again, they have to shut up is the trick. And going through all that rescuing, they do the little clever kind of like Scooby-Doo chase scene where they crisscross it, and you have the visual chain going across, and and he does the whole hero pose, and he puts it in the in the chain, and all wonderful stuff. They get out, first people to get Fiona out of the thing, and then the reality sets in that this is not Prince Charming, and this is not what she's expecting, and she is like disappointed at first.
More so.
Yeah. Well, is it Cameron Diaz voices Fiona? I think she does a great job as well. She has a lot of fire in her voice.
Which works really well for Fiona's character.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'll get there as we're going on this journey, but my favorite scene as we're going through this is coming up.
Yep, I know. I already, you didn't even tell me because I already knew it was your favorite scene.
My favorite scene by far.
Go off. Fiona is saying, we need to set up for camp, blah, blah, blah. Yep. Set up for camp, all this stuff. And then we get another scene that I really enjoy.
Well, and it also, just really quick, when she needs to set up for camp, they're like, no, we're just going to walk through, and Donkey's totally cool with it there. And she's like, no. And his exact line is, well, there's nothing out here that's scarier than me.
And then Fiona's and then
like,
her ferocity.
We're going to make camp now.
And both of their ears are like down.
Like, okay.
And it's fantastic.
So it goes to show that she is also not afraid of him.
Well, shows, she's the first person to kind of stand up to Shrek in that way. And also, I really like it because it shows glimmers of, the whole message of the movie is, it's not when you first see someone, you're not getting the whole story. Yep. And so you're getting these little glimmers of this princess is not everything that she looks like she is.
Well, it's not your typical princess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, another wonderful scene that we get is I call the scene Shrek and Donkey under the stars.
Oh, that's such a good scene.
I love this
scene.
It's because it's another step in their friendship of, just like, well, Donkey brings up, our swamp because he's a communist bastard. But anyway.
Wow.
But no, he brings
he
up.
He just wants his piece of the pie, man.
Well, exactly. Well, no, I think he just wants to continue being friends with Shrek. Exactly. It's not about having the swamp. He wants to continue to be in Shrek's life.
Correct.
And so, that's basically his viewpoint is just like, well, what are we going to do this? Why are you blocking? Why are you doing all this stuff? And then he's like, Donkey, like, I don't want to get into this. And then you really get, I think it's my favorite scene with Shrek in this movie, is where he's just like, people take one look at me and they immediately go, help, run. A big, stupid, ugly ogre, which is another line that pops up after, because this movie doesn't waste.
Fiona copies that line.
Well, yeah. Well, he also copies it at the end of the movie, or close to the end of the movie, when he starts realizing how much of a fool he is. But anyway, this movie does not waste any time or dialogue or anything. It's very jam-packed, full of stuff. So, Fiona. This is why I say Donkey's pivotal to this movie, is because Donkey is the one that gets Shrek to have that confession, and it's what Fiona gets to have insight to Shrek. So without Donkey kind of pushing the friendship and trying to make it grow and stuff like that, Fiona would have never gotten this insight to Shrek, and their relationship never would have blossomed.
Yeah.
Because the very next scene, she blows up a bird.
Has all this animal abuse.
She blows up a bird.
So much animal.
Steals the children.
Can we talk about how much animal abuse?
There's a fair amount.
There's so much animal abuse that they put at the end of the movie. There was no animals harmed in this movie. It's ridiculous.
I swear to God, that's all animation. But anyway, so she blows up a bird, steals their children, cooks it for breakfast, and Shrek goes, "That was pretty cool of you."
I actually really like it. And then they get the burp scene where the burp scene. And then Fiona flips the line right back at him.
Exactly.
Maybe you shouldn't judge people before you get to know them.
Exactly, which is the message of the movie.
Correct.
Just because this movie is about an ogre, it doesn't mean it doesn't have a heart to it. Because this movie absolutely does have a heart to it.
Oh, massively.
And so you might as well go into the scene that I know you want to talk about.
The
immediately
best scene
after she gives this line
in the movie.
She saunters off with a little song, and then
la, la, la. Oh my God, I fucking love this scene, and there's no other way around it. It's so amazing because you have Robin Hood, your typical, and
machismo man,
and she is clearly irritated at this dude.
Yes.
Clearly, the entire interaction, she is irritated at him, and he's like, well, I'm rescuing you, obviously. And she's like, listen here, you don't know. He's like, oh, you're right. I haven't introduced myself, mademoiselle. And it's just like, you're
they really lay on the French.
Oh, massively.
Like, the first thing he does is he goes, I'm rescuing you from this beast. And it's just like, oh, this guy's laying it on thick.
Thick,
and then,
dude.
Another thing they've been doing, they try and start a musical.
Yep. And she's like, no.
Just shuts that shit down.
She's like, absolutely not. And it's just so great because they assume she needs rescued, which she does not, and then they don't listen to her, which is another one. She's telling them, obviously, she's not shy about it, that I'm fine, but they're clearly ignoring her and doing whatever she wants to do.
They're about to murder her friends,
basically. So then she's like, all right, well, this is not what's going to happen. She does a backflip in the air, Matrix style, kicks everyone.
Gets some bullet time.
Like, dude.
Hits her with her ponytail.
So great. And kicks everyone's ass. Hits the dude through the accordion. Flips her hair and is like,
I like that he chases her and is playing at the same time.
And then they walk away, and Shrek is just like, hold the phone. Like, what just happened?
Because he has the same reaction to the audience when you first see it. Of just like, hold up.
Like, what just happened?
What is going on?
So great.
And so
I love that
couple
scene.
things in that scene is they do bullet time, so they do some Matrix homages.
Some Matrix nonsense.
Yeah, which came out in like 1999 or the 2000. Like
Don't
the
care.
last,
They're putting the action in it.
Yeah,
it's
I love
great.
that they're just like, this movie was cool. The princess is doing this. And then one of my favorite things that they do as a bit is, one, she punches the guy through the accordion, and then that's when the music stops, and then you just hear this guy just go, ah, like he just yells, and then she like does just a roundhouse kick, and it cuts 3 times to the same kick, and he just goes flying, and it's just like, it just cuts it like an action movie.
It's great.
3 different shots to this roundhouse kick,
great.
and then she's like,
done.
Time to go. And,
Yep, it's
and Shrek's like,
amazing.
And then Donkey too. They're both just like, their jaw is like on the floor, and they're just like, dude, did she have the red pill? Like, what happened?
So
like, what's
funny. Well, yeah, and then and then she doesn't get hurt at all, but Shrek is the one that gets hurt.
Yeah,
the arrow in the butt,
or whatever.
The arrow in the butt is so funny. Like,
and it also shows, this is kind of the first scene that Shrek and Fiona get together, is you gotta find blue flower, red thorns.
Just and something to get rid of Donkey.
Yeah, what are the flowers for? And he goes, to get rid of Donkey. And they both are just like, yeah.
You're like, that was smart. I love it.
Exactly. Great comedic stuff with Donkey. Easier if I wasn't colorblind. Awesome.
Yep.
You get a little moment of them together and like kind of the tenderness between them. And so, great little scene of just like, oh, this person isn't all what I expect. And I kind of like her. She's kind of cool.
Like, she's a lot cooler than I thought she was gonna be.
She made me breakfast. She just kicked everyone's ass. So it's just like, she's
not helpless.
Exactly.
Like.
So let's see.
And she's smart because she got rid of Donkey.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. After that, you get a little montage with another pop culture song. It's called like My Beautiful Monster or something like that.
Okay.
Good song, it's not, but it has that montage of them doing ogre-like things together.
Yep.
Where he's in the tree and he makes her a bridge.
Animal abuse.
A lot of animal abuse, but it's whatever. It's fine.
Animal abuse.
A lot of fun visual gags.
Yeah.
Like I like the idea of them being surrounded by flies, and then he makes it into a turkey leg basically.
Well, and then
it's awesome.
She makes it, and she licks
there's little
her
hints
fingers.
all around the movie. Of just like, there are things that she enjoys but aren't
I'm not allowed
proper.
to.
It's
I'm
not allowed to do that.
Enjoy,
But I can do it with this guy because it's just like nobody else is around. This is his normal.
This is his normal completely. And I mean, they even get into that in like one of the last scenes where on their journey back, they're sitting there and she's like, this is really good.
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, well, what is it? Like wheat rat or something?
Weed rats.
Weed
rotisserie
rat.
style.
Yeah. And she's like, oh my God, like this is actually delicious.
Well, yeah, there are things that she enjoys, and this guy, obviously cares to a certain degree, and there's a core to him, and he's got more going on under the surface, and she's starting to see that, and he's kind of starting to see, different sides of her.
Yep.
So last night they get together. What is it? They're, not too far from the castle. They want to stop but they both make excuses to stay longer.
So no. Fiona, this is important. Fiona makes an excuse to stay because they could make it to the castle by sundown. And she is like, and Shrek even says that. It's like, no, we'll make it by sundown. Because at this point, they were under the impression that she's scared of the dark, you know.
Well,
and then she even looks over and she's like, well, I mean, like she literally takes a second and looks around, eyes land on Donkey and goes, Donkey doesn't look good.
Exactly.
You know what? Donkey doesn't look good. And then freaks Donkey out because she knows that she can.
Well, yeah, Shrek immediately
picks up on it.
And goes, yeah, you look terrible.
Yep.
And then, the thing is they're obviously doing it because they want to spend more time together.
But they're not making that vocal.
Because they immediately, Donkey's like, like he breaks his own neck basically. And they're both like, I'll make a fire and like I'll go do this, and it's just like they're clearly making excuses because they want to spend more time with each other.
Correct.
And so then you get the scene with the weed swamp rat, and he's just like, well, I make swamp rat stew. I make
a mean one.
Eyeball tartar or whatever, and just like the stuff, and it's just like,
he says, I'll make you whatever you want.
Whatever you want, just come visit by.
I'll make you everything.
And she kind of looks longingly at the castle, and she's like, I guess I'll be eating different tomorrow night.
Is it longingly?
Well, longingly as in like a, not in a good way. Maybe longingly is not the correct word. But she looks at the castle in kind of like a,
like a disbelief, like this is really where I'm going.
Not a disbelief, but like a
hesitation.
I guess, yeah, in a hesitant way, and just goes like, yeah, I guess I'll be dining differently tomorrow.
Yep.
And he's just like, well, you can come visit me, and the sunset's happening, and Donkey says, how romantic! Look at the sunset. And then she's
like, shit.
Yeah, and then she runs in there, and then get the next scene where she talks with Mr. Donkey, and Shrek goes off, and he's getting really, he doesn't know how to, he's never had this happen to him before.
No,
ever.
He doesn't know how to handle
and
these,
so
feelings.
He's just like, yeah, I'm an ogre, and she's a princess, blah 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 blah. Get the huge reveal that Fiona is actually an ogre by night. Oh my god, how crazy. This is the only part of the movie that I'm not a huge fan of. I like that she's an ogre, I like all that stuff. But he listens in, and it makes sense. He listens in to the conversation, and then hears like, oh, I could never be with someone so ugly and terrible, and his interpretation of it. And if he just stayed literally 2 seconds longer, he would have heard the rest of like, oh, there's a curse and stuff like that. So it's the only part of the movie that I find a little like flimsy of like, oh, it's just characters aren't talking to each other, or they didn't stay longer.
I feel like that's actually really accurate for how like a new relationship could work. Because like you just said, he's really shy, he's nervous. Yeah. He doesn't want like Donkey.
Well, he already has the preconceived notion that they're not going to work out because he's an ogre.
Right, and Donkey says, "Well, you guys get along really well," and he takes off. He's like, well, "Where are you going?" "I'm gonna go get more firewood," and they obviously have enough. So he went off and made like a decision. Like, you know what? I am going to tell her how I feel because it's been hours. You know, picks it up, goes in, goes to knock. And that's all that he hears, and he gets upset and he leaves. Yeah, so I could see that being realistic.
It does make sense. The characters are reacting the way they should be reacting. I guess it's just like, Shrek, just stand there for like 2 more seconds.
Yeah, but
like,
is that in Shrek's character to sit there and listen in on all like the details, or if he's like
have a knee-jerk reaction?
I got my information. I knew I was stupid to think so. Anyways, because then he leaves and he gets Lord Farquaad.
He goes straight there
and gets them. Is like, I'm done. Like he literally has the reaction. Nope, not gonna do this.
And then I guess this is also another part, because it's just the characters not communicating to create drama, which I don't know. I have mixed feelings about.
But I still feel like that's realistic because people don't communicate.
For the Shrek thing, yes, but for the Fiona thing, like I don't know, because she's now under the impression, because once they talk, he's just like, well, that does matter to me. So she's under the impression that Shrek knows. So I don't know. It's just like a weird, like, okay, we've got to hit the story beat so we can go to the next beat, and it's not not terrible.
How else is Fiona gonna go with Farquaad?
Well, exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they have to set it up this way.
Yeah, because otherwise she'd be like, no, we need to like why are you being an asshole? Exactly. We're just not even gonna give them that opportunity.
Just a small critique of the scene. I still love the movie. Just a small little critique.
It's
but yeah, that's the only part of the movie where I'm like, But either way, next scene's fantastic, because the very next scene is one. What is it? She's going off to get water. By the way, she hasn't abandoned the podcast quite yet. She's just getting water. But anyway, the next scene that we get is, I think, my favorite montage in the movie.
Okay.
The Hallelujah. Well, one, I can't remember who does the actual Hallelujah song, but it's awesome. Like, whoever sings it does a great job. And the visual language that the movie sends towards you during the song of Hallelujah is great. Because it just has this back and forth of, like, Shrek's looking at all this shattered glass, and then, it transfers into, like, these chandeliers. These chandeliers, and then, Shrek throws the thing in the fire, the sunflower in the fire, and then it transfers to her, and then she turns around, and, it's the suit of armor that Shrek wore, or something that looked like that. And then the best one is where they're both sitting at the table.
But
Shrek is on the opposite sides, and they both are very clearly feeling the loss of one another, but it was never communicated. So just that whole montage, wonderful, great. Also, I forgot to mention before, Shrek lashes out because he thinks Donkey has basically made fun of him with Fiona. So he's just like, there's no room for you in my life, basically.
Well, and you knew that I liked this chick.
Yeah.
And you went in and talked to her behind my back, and I feel like you guys are, talking about me, so you broke my trust.
Exactly. So anyway, we get a great scene of Donkey, the Omega Chad that he is, returning to the swamp, telling Shrek off, being like, hey, you have been an asshole this whole time.
Yep.
Now it's my turn.
So
this is where they get away with their second jackass, or ass, I guess. And he also stays true to Fiona. Fiona makes him swear not to tell anybody. And he's just like, we were talking about somebody else. So it kind of shows that he is just a loyal friend.
Because even
though he's talking, even though he could tell Shrek everything right now, he promised to Fiona that he wouldn't. And so it just really showcases that Donkey has his friends' interests in mind all the time.
Right.
And so goes there, gets Shrek back into, he corners Shrek basically, and, tells him basically, pull your head out your butt. We weren't talking about you.
And it's in the same place that the movie started.
Exactly.
It's in the latrine.
Exactly.
So it's like his story started, and now his story...
Well, everything's changed now, because when he first was in the beginning of the movie, he was happy being alone.
Right.
But now he's back home, and he's miserable. Everything's not going well. He's not enjoying the food as much. He's not enjoying his scenery as much. And it goes back to where he first started, and he exits out as a different character.
Literally, and that's kind of what I'm saying. It's like he goes back to like where he was at the beginning of the movie, and then his friend is like, "No, that's not how you need to be."
Exactly.
So,
Donkey, during the montages is another kind of thing where it's just like, it's a little contrived, but I'm fine with it. Donkey just so happens to run into the dragon in the forest, and is just like, let's go.
A little contrived, but it's fine. If I had to critique a scene, that is the scene.
That'd be the one.
Why on God's earth would this dragon be anywhere near where the fuck they are?
Well, Lucy, probably... I'm gonna write the movie for the writers real quick.
Let's hear it.
Because that's what good movies do, is they need people to write it for them. If you ever hear anybody that say make excuses for movie and they start writing movies for people, just be like, you're dumb. But anyway, I'm gonna write for them. I'm gonna be dumb.
I'm gonna go ahead and do it.
Well, she probably blew her dragon breath and melted those chains away,
Okay.
And then she probably, got a whiff of Donkey, they were pretty close together, and she probably went searching for him out in the woods because she has animal instincts.
No.
And as he was at the river, she was probably like, smell that donkey ass, oh my God, over here.
It would have been cooler if they would have shown a scene of like Donkey like being upset about Shrek and like being on the riverbed and walking along the riverbed and like seeing pieces of chain or something in the water and have him be like, no way,
That'd be cool.
And then like because you could play on the fact that she's a dragon. She found a cave.
Yeah.
She's nestling in the cave because she's sad.
Well, exactly, and that's the thing that's the kind of cool thing about this movie is Shrek gets his love interest from the place, and
so does
Donkey gets a love interest from the same place. And so, but obviously it's not given nearly as much padding.
Doesn't matter. It's just as cute a love story.
It's very good, and
it's just as cute.
They eventually
have children.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's amazing.
I'm gonna say it's a little weird.
It's weird.
But anyway, I don't even. We're not even gonna get into that.
Them.
Anyway, he's like, oh my god, I have a perfect way to the castle. Shrek. And so they hop on the dragon, they fly on off.
I think
which is great.
Is that also a stab on Disney in the sense of whenever you need something, all of a something, if there's a will, there's a way, something just magically happens?
Well, possibly, but I don't know. All I'm saying is, I'm fine with it. Whatever. He ran into the dragon. Whatever. They can get to the castle on time. It's cool, and also it has the payoff where Lord Farquaad gets eaten by a dragon. So I'll buy it. Which is
amazing.
Anyway, they get to the thing, and I absolutely fucking love that Shrek is just about to go in, and
Donkey's like,
Donkey
no!
stops him because he's just like, "There's a way to do this," which is another kind of like Disney thing where there's a way to do it,
so
and then halfway through he's like, "Oh, frick! I think he already said." He's like, "For the love of Pete," and he just busts in and does, "Oh, dead."
Chicks love that romantic crap.
Yeah. Gotta try a little tenderness. Chicks love that romantic crap.
It's like, you love it, right? Yes. You want to please her.
And it gets closer and closer to each of their eyes.
Gotta try a little tenderness.
Yeah, that's good.
So great.
So anyway, you get to the scene where, it kind of shows the difference between Shrek as a spouse and Lord Farquaad as a spouse and what Fiona actually wants in life. Does she want the perfect princess story where, what she thinks is going to fix her problems?
The story that her parents wrote for her.
Basically, and they expound more on that on the second one. But yeah, and versus what she actually enjoys doing in life. And, she obviously picks Shrek. Great little montage of not montage, but little scene of her changing back into the form and him just being like, well, that explains a whole bunch.
Like that explains a lot.
And then Lord Farquaad immediately being like, kill it. Yeah. Like, this is, you are disgusting, and what the hell? He does not
and the marriage was never binding, by the way.
Well, he tries to convince us that
he says that, but it was not.
See?
Yeah, it was not.
But anyway, so he does all that, gets eaten by a dragon. I like that Donkey says, I'll whistle if I need you to the dragon.
Yeah.
And so Shrek knocks it off just enough to whistle. Because I just like that little detail of just like, okay.
She's listening.
Exactly. And so he knows kind of how to get out of this situation. Lord Farquaad gets eaten. Donkey makes a great joke of, I'm a donkey on the edge. Wonderful. It's great.
Wonderful.
And then, you get the true love's kiss.
Yep.
The expectations is that she goes up, she's all glowing.
Right.
And she's, the expectation is she's going to turn back to your average Disney princess.
Your typical princess.
And of course they have her lay facing away from the camera, so everybody's like, hey, I know. And then when she stands up, it's just like, oh, no. And you're right, at the end of the movie, she's like, well, I'm supposed to be beautiful. It's like, well, you are beautiful. And it ends it with the last really moments of, you are beautiful. Really? Really? Wow. And that is the last solidifying relationship Shrek gets in his life and in the movie.
Well, what's interesting about that too is that Donkey says it to him first, and then he says it back to Donkey to show that I've developed a friendship.
Yep.
But then because he's developed this relationship, he's able to give that to somebody else.
Well, exactly. Well, because his friendship with Donkey allowed him to open up, and him opening up is the only reason he is telling Fiona right now, I want to be with you.
Yep.
And it's the only way that really moment can happen, is that transfer of trust and vulnerability, which is what Shrek has a hard time going through, because he at the beginning of the movie, he doesn't want to open up to anyone. He wants to be left alone. He doesn't want anyone to know anything. Just get out of my way. I don't care. I'm fine by myself.
Yep.
but then he learns the value of,
those friendships and
relationships he makes along the way.
Well, and then like another fun, just a tidbit, another fun thing about that last scene is when she changes into her final form, she knocks out all the glass except one, so then the dragon takes it
punches,
out. So great. Like, oh man, we're getting all of them.
So real quick, just a synopsis. We basically just went over the whole movie. Fantastic. Good job, everyone, for sticking around. I assume you didn't, because whatever.
I mean, who would?
Characters. Real quick, Shrek's arc. Shrek's arc is basically what we just said. He starts as kind of a lone wolf, if you will, and then eventually goes through the way and understands the value of friendships and relationships, which is great when, the whole world wants to burn you alive.
Yep.
So it's just learning about trust. Fiona kind of goes through her arc of wanting desperately to conform because it's what you do versus what's actually going to make you happy in life, and that there is true beauty in just being yourself and doing things that you find enjoyable, not what other people think you should be doing.
Yeah.
Donkey, he doesn't really have an arc. He's just a supporting character, but he's a fantastic comedic supporting character, and he is a friend the entire time. From scene 1 to scene end, he is friend. He
doesn't have a huge arc, but he doesn't
really. I wouldn't say he doesn't have an arc, but that's not a bad thing.
Right.
He's a supporting character.
He has a small one, and his arc is very much in line with Shrek's arc.
Yes, he helps Shrek get to his arc.
Right.
So Donkey's pivotal. Like he's not just like a character that just says funny things, because you have movies where you have a side character and they only say funny things and they have no bearing on the plot.
Yeah.
Donkey is integral to this movie. Farquaad doesn't have an arc at all, but God, he is such a funny and likable villain. He is just funny, and I like him, and making some short jokes.
There's no arc for him, but his character is exactly what it needs to be. Because he doesn't need arc. That type of character gets no development.
Villains usually, unless it's
that's not true. There's a lot of great.
Let me finish my sentence. Usually, when it comes to fairy tale villains, there's not really an arc associated with the villain. Now, if we're going to get into things with like anti-heroes, stuff like that, we can have that talk. But I would say for the most part of a simple story like this one, the villain just needs to be the antagonist. And he also represents the conformity that Fiona is kind of thinking about and the thing that Shrek has been dealing with all of his life. So he fits very well into that slot of what the characters have been dealing with externally. Shrek always being hunted, Fiona always wanting to conform, Farquaad is the pinnacle of both of those things.
He wants to be king, he wants to be perfect.
Yeah, well, he wants everything to be perfect. So,
which he can't fix his height, so sorry.
That's very true. Anyway, music, we already went over the music, but this movie
the
is
soundtrack
full
is so
of
good.
Also, I think the camera went out, so you keep talking about the soundtrack. I'll see if I can fix this real quick.
The soundtrack is so good because you have like heartfelt songs, and you have songs that are like with Smash Mouth, and you have all of these
the first song, Smash Mouth, dead ass, I'm not hyperbole, it is iconic.
It's perfect.
The Smash Mouth opening is iconic. And then, they get into the Hallelujah. You kind of get into the other stuff. You get Pina Colada. You get, at the very end, I Thought Love Was Only True in Fairy Tales. Yeah. Which you would think that it's, like, made
for the
movie. But the song already existed from Smash Mouth. Yep. It just fits perfectly at the end.
Super
because that's how they end the movie, is with that song and all of them, like, woo! And then don't they ride off in a onion, which is
Cinderella.
It's very it's all satire, baby.
Making fun of the pumpkin, baby.
All satire, baby. Last thing to kind of wrap it up, because I think we've dug into this one pretty thoroughly, of just kind of like all the
Yeah.
character arcs and kind of how things have gone.
I mean, the big main theme is the like not judging a book by its cover on all four main characters.
Yep, which is funny because the story starts with the book and a cover. But anyway.
But yeah, Fiona, you can't judge Fiona based on her looks. You can't judge Shrek. You can't judge Donkey because you think he's just a donkey, but he's actually a talking friend.
Yep.
And
the dragon turns out to be a love interest.
A girl first, because you think the dragon's just evil and wants to kill everyone and everything, but it's actually a girl dragon with feelings.
Exactly. And then even Lord Farquaad, he has moments where it's just like, one, there's that table, and then when he's on the horse, he's seen as this big guy, but then he's not what he seems. He's actually a very short man, emotionally and physically.
Yep. And then he goes off of the great Lord Farquaad, but, I mean, in reality.
So, it's all the stuff.
He's kind of short in stature.
Fifth section that I wanted to know for you is, what was your favorite scene?
You already know.
And then favorite joke. So
you already know my favorite scene.
Favorite scene?
It's the Robin Hood scene.
Okay, well, we don't have to go back into it since we've already dived into it.
I love that scene.
Favorite joke in the movie?
Oh man, that's hard.
There's a lot.
Well, just because it's super nostalgic. I love that Stairmaster joke. And I also love I need to save my ass joke. So those are both as they're running through the castle jokes. What else would be my favorite joke in this whole movie? I don't know. Those have always stood out to me because they're just funny. Donkey on the Edge.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a hard question.
It is. I think my favorite scene probably be. I really do think it is that introduction to Lord Farquaad.
Oh,
I think that's my favorite scene. Just it's all of it, in my opinion, is just gold.
It is
really
like
how
good.
It's setting up the torture with like the milk, and it is perfect satire and comedy, and just like they just the dialogue's great. It morphs into the other scene, but I'm talking like the ending of she's married to the Muffin Man.
She's married to the Muffin Man?
Just that little section
is great.
It's wonderful. I love it.
It is great.
My favorite joke is probably you got to try the little tenderness. Where it cuts to their eyes closer and closer. So I think that's my that's my favorite joke.
And it's so good because Donkey's trying to break out into song, but he knows he's not allowed to.
Yeah, exactly.
So, do you love her? Do you want to please her? But you gotta try a little tenderness. Yeah, exactly. Like, he wants to sing so bad.
And Shrek's like, what is wrong with you?
So funny.
Just let me go in the door. No, Shrek, you gotta say I object.
And he's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, chicks love that romantic crap.
But yeah, so that is, unless you've got anything else to add, that is Shrek 1. So this is, I guess this is the end of
Oh, no, not yet.
Not yet?
Here's my category for you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Here's my category for you. If there was one scene that you could change or adjust, what would you do?
Okay.
To either expand on like a relationship, on the movie, on a joke. Isn't this one of those DreamWorks movies too where they made animated bloopers?
They did.
Isn't that this one of them?
Yeah, well this is, so kind of. They didn't animate the bloopers, but there are bloopers of like Donkey's hair physics. Like frizzled out and stuff like that.
It was more so like because they were still figuring out the animations. Yeah, that's right.
And Pixar is the one who animates its outtakes.
It's hilarious.
I don't know. I can't really think of a way that I would retool because the only thing I can think of is Donkey kind of running into a dragon at the thing. I think maybe retooling it that way is kind of the best way to do it. or because he couldn't make it back time into the castle. Well, you could have some scene if you wanted, as a cutaway of the dragon getting out and having like a little piece of Donkey's hair, and she could like smell it.
Oh,
so it's just like, and you can just see her like biting the chain or something, and then like she gets out and she takes flight, and it smash cuts to something else. So it implies that she's on the look for Donkey.
Or
so
that
makes
she's looking,
it makes it a little more believable that they run into each other.
Yeah.
But that's the only way I can think of retooling that. It wouldn't mess with the pacing of the movie, I don't think. Just have a little 30-second scene of her having when she has them all wrapped up, she can just get like a little piece of hair or something.
Or like the montage when Fiona and Shrek are kind of doing their montage with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I think they could have expanded that a little and done a little montage for Donkey and the Dragon.
Yeah,
had Donkey be walking around upset because he's mad about Shrek, mad about everything that's going on, and then kind of show that like this is happening on like both sides.
Yeah.
And then the friendship gets repaired first between Shrek and Donkey, and then once they pair up again, then it's like, okay, then we can figure this out.
Something like that. But that's the only thing I could think of retooling with the movie. It's a very good movie. 7 out of 10. Enjoyed it. It's good stuff.
It is a great movie.
Perhaps we will talk about Shrek 2 the future.
I would be down, and then we can talk about why Shrek 3 is trash.
Bad. Oh no, that's a fireplace episode.
Because
Shrek the 4th we can talk about, which is I like Shrek the 4th.
Is that the 40 one?
No, that's with Rumpelstiltskin. Genuinely a good movie. Not even kidding.
Fuck, I'm gonna have to rewatch that one.
It's on Netflix.
I don't remember that one. I'm gonna have to rewatch it. I deleted the third one from my memory. The King Arthur one.
Yeah, it's bad.
I've deleted it, dude.
Bad.
Like, I was talking to Brittany about it, and I was over at her house, and we were watching Shrek, and she's like, well, I'd never seen the scene where the princesses break out of jail. And I'm like,
yeah.
What scene are you talking about?
That's Shrek the 3rd.
And so we were talking about it. It's like, well, the second one is Happily Ever After. That's when they meet the parents and do that whole thing. And then the third one, they have kids. And she's like, yeah. And then there's some else that happens.
Yeah,
like, it's fucking King Arthur.
Yeah, the fourth one is pretty
Merlin.
good. Third one's not good. The second one, I think, might be the best one. But anyway,
the second one's great.
First-time viewers, if you see this wall, that means we are talking about something we like, that we really appreciate. You will see the background of
the shitty ones.
Yeah, when we talk about a movie that we don't like, you will not see this background. It will be a different background. So,
because you got to talk about media in both ways.
Yes.
There's no good media.
It's
without
all passion.
Shitty media.
It's all passion. It's just some of the passion is good and some of the passion is bad. But anyway, thanks for watching the first episode. If you're still here, probably not. But anyway. Have a Shrek forever after, am I right?
Oh my god, no. Oh my god, no. I disapprove.